Rome, New York, Tokyo, London. There is one common thing in all of these cities, is that your broke ass cannot afford none of them. All jokes aside, it is really expensive to visit these countries and cities, and if you stay there a week, the expenses might equal to the price of a cheaper car. Luckily, I have a solution for you. Today I'm showing you the absolute cheapest destinations in 2026 where you don't need to spend fortunes on a vacation, and who knows, these places might become one of your favorite holiday destinations. Let's begin. Our first destination is gonna be in the Balkans, which is very famous among many reasons, but it's also Europe's best kept budget secret. And our first spot is Albania, which has the most beautiful beaches in the Mediterranean. But why is Albania such an underrated, still beautiful destination? Well, I wanna highlight two places first. These are the places where you can find the famous crystal clear water. Rwanda is a bustling city with a massive waterfront and an amazing nightlife. Samil is just 20 minutes away and has a more laid-back village vibe. They also have a really famous beach club. But let's move to the important part, which is price breakdown. Let's start with accommodation. If you're really on a budget, you can easily find hostel dorms or shared rooms from about 10 to 15 euros a night. If you're thinking about apartments or Airbnbs, 25 to 40 euros per night for 2 people in the shoulder season. It is important to mention that peak season, which is in July and August, Albania can still be really pricey, with private rooms from 40 to 60 euros. So this is just a tip: if you want to visit Albania, try to avoid the peak season. Visit in June or May, or try to go after the peak season in September. The best part is food and drinks, especially street foods. You can get street foods for 2 or 5 euros and they are amazing. If you are there, you definitely have to try burek, which is general Balkan street food. You can buy it everywhere and it's amazing. If you want to go to traditional Albanian restaurants, you can still find meals around 5 euros, and a nice dinner for 2 with drinks at a decent restaurant could cost around 20 euros. Public transport exists in Albania. It is also really cheap. In the city, journeys cost under 1 euro. If you're considering car rental, expect 35 to 40 euro days with full insurance, which is still, I think, a really good price. As I mentioned before, Albania is still really underrated, with amazing spots like the Albanian Alps. It has amazing hikes, amazing landscapes, and you can buy guest houses here around 32 euros a night, and it usually includes massive home-cooked meals as well. There's also the Gipe beach, which sits at the bottom of a dramatic canyon. There is no direct roads to access. You either take a boat or hike down a rough path, which keeps it away from being extremely crowded by tourists. There are 2 incredible UNESCO listed historical towns. Berat is called the City of Thousand Windows, where you can wander around 2,000-year-old cobblestone streets for almost nothing. If you are into history, Albania is still the perfect spot for you. If you are wandering around the country, you can find the remains of the ancient Greeks, Romans, and the Ottoman Empire as well. For our next destination, we are not gonna go too far. It's still gonna be in the Balkans region, and it's Bulgaria. And it is an absolute hidden gem. It is often cheaper than Albania, but it's more developed, has better train network, for example, and as of January 1st, 2026, it has officially adopted the euro. As a price breakdown, I would not really go into detail. Just imagine everything that I said at Albania and calculate everything a little bit more cheaper. This is how prices are in Bulgaria. So I would rather talk about things to see and what makes Bulgaria unique. It is the capital city of Bulgaria. It has a mix of Roman ruins, massive communist era architecture, which a lot of people find fascinating actually. So if you have a fetish in communist era architecture, Bulgaria is the best place for you. If you want a little bit of adventure, you can hike Vitosha mountain in the morning. And if you want to taste what Bulgaria's nightlife is about, you can go to the many underground bars in the evening. This one is the oldest continuously inhabited city. It also has a really good vibe with cobblestone streets, colorful houses, and an artistic district called Kapana. And the city is actually 28% cheaper than Sofia, so make sure to check it out as well. Bulgaria also has a coast, which is not that pretty as Albania's, but it's still really magnificent. I would definitely recommend visiting the coast when you travel to Bulgaria. There is Sunny Beach, which is basically the nightlife capital of Bulgaria. It has many clubs, you can buy cheap drinks, and this is the spot where you want to actually get hammered in Bulgaria, honestly. But be careful, it is really a touristy place, and also scammers and thieves know about it, so always be careful when you are just walking around Sunny Beach. If you want to avoid tourist traps and you're not really a nightlife person, I would definitely recommend Nessebar and Sozopol. This is a more grown-up vibe. They are UNESCO listed ancient towns on the water with wooden houses and medieval walls. It is absolutely magnificent, and if you want a little bit more culture and tradition from Bulgaria, I would recommend visiting that instead of the Sunny Beach, or you can do both. And in the end, let's head to the mountains. I had two spots for you. Bansko is one of the cheapest ski resorts in the world in the winter, and it is a really huge digital nomad hub in the summer. Just like I mentioned in the previous video when I made from Bali, make sure to check that out also. Bulgaria is also really famous travel destination for digital nomads. There is also the Rila Monastery. It is a massive Eastern Orthodox monastery tucked away in the Rila Mountains. It has breathtaking architecture, and if you're really into history, you will be in love with this place. I would also highlight transportation, which exists. It is solid, but it has some downside as well. Trains are really cheap, but they are really in a bad condition and they are really slow, so make sure to consider that when you travel with train. I think that makes buses the fastest way between cities. They are a little bit more expensive, but if you do not have a car, don't worry, you can definitely get around Bulgaria. It just might take a little bit more time. And in the end, I would like to highlight some bad side of Bulgaria as well. Language barrier is really a problem here. English is spoken here, but not widely, and outside of major cities, you can have problems trying to communicate with the locals. As I mentioned before, infrastructure in Sofia is great, but outside of the big cities, roads can be a nightmare filled with a lot of potholes. Also, locals might seem a bit cold at first. It doesn't mean that they don't like you. Maybe some locals don't like tourists, I don't know about that. Bulgarians might be a little distant from you in the beginning, but don't worry, it's not because of you're a jerk, it's because that they have a different culture and style, and that's okay. And you have to accept it when you go to Bulgaria. For our next destination, we're going down a little bit further on the map to Southeast Asia. I have 3 destinations here for you, and I really cannot decide which one is the best, so I'm gonna talk about all 3 of them. But first, I gotta mention, I would love to put Bali on the list, but I previously made a video about it where I also mention everything which is good about Bali and what you need to know, so I'm just gonna focus on the other 2 destinations. To make it simpler, I would like to divide Thailand into 3 zones. First is the jungle, which is the north part. This is really the heart of budget travel. It's cooler, it's surrounded by mountains, and famous for elephants, sanctuaries, and incredible night markets. If you really want chaos, I would definitely recommend you visiting Bangkok, which is one of the world's greatest cities. You can eat like a king on the streets for €2. Just make sure that you don't go to any sketchy places, otherwise you will be running to the toilets every 10 minutes. But apart from that, you can find amazing luxury rooftop bars that would cost triple the price in London or New York. And last but not least, the south, which is really famous from its island, for example Phuket, Koh Tao, Koh Phi Phi. I don't know if it's how you say it, but I tried. This is where you find those world famous beaches. Koh Tao is the cheapest place in the world to get scuba certified, while Koh Phi Phi is the go for legendary beach parties. I think from all the countries in the list, Thailand might be the cheapest one. You can find decent hostel beds from €5 per day, and if you want mid-range hotel with a pool, you don't need to pay much more than 15 to 20 euros. As I mentioned before, street food is king here. A plate of pad thai or green curry from a stall will cost you 2-3 euros, but again, make sure to buy it from a legit source. I have to mention that only local food is really cheap. Western foods like burgers and pizza is significantly more expensive. Public transport exists. It is surprisingly good, especially in Bangkok, but I would recommend using apps like Grab or Bolt for transportation and avoid local taxis and tuk-tuks who are trying to sell their services for 2 to 3 times more. What I recommend looking out for when you visit, as I mentioned before, food. I don't want anybody to get sick, just to make sure. Also the heat. If you're coming from different parts of the world, this might take a little bit of time to get used to. And don't underestimate the burn if you're riding a scooter. Another downside is that be careful with elephant parks. Do your research to ensure they are truly ethical and don't allow riding, because it is really harmful for elephants. It is the next country in the region, and if we say Thailand is the king of tourism, Vietnam is still the king of value. In 2026, it still remains one of the cheapest places on the planet to live a high quality life on a low quality budget. I'm gonna divide Vietnam into 2, which is the north versus the south. Hanoi is an ancient, moody and famous for its train street and French colonial architecture. Halong Bay is a must, is Vietnam's most iconic natural treasure, famous primarily for its surreal seascapes for over 100,000 to 200 towering limestone islands and islets. But if you want a less crowded version, check out Lan Hao Bay. Hoi An is a fairytale town of lanterns and tailors where you can get a custom suits made for 100 euros. Da Nang is a modern beach city that is incredibly popular with digital nomads. Ho Chi Minh City, a high energy mega city, it's loud, fast and has some of the best coffee culture and nightlife in Asia. Moving on to accommodation, incredible hostels can be found for 5 and 8 euros, and these are like not the ones that you just get a bed. These hostels actually like are hotel quality, and private hotel will often only cost you 20 to 30 euros. Vietnam is home to Bia Hoi, which is the world's cheapest beer, so British tourists be ready to go there, often costing less than a half euro a glass. Banh mi sandwich will set you back about 2 or 3 euros. So if you're a backpacker, you can easily live on 20 to 25 euros a day, and that is including accommodation as well. And for 60 euros a day, it actually feels like you own the whole country. If you're into history, you can easily visit all the museums and sites which are made about the Vietnam War against the Americans. And also locals are really welcoming to travelers, even though there's a big hustle in tourist areas among the locals. There are also some downside of Vietnam. You also have to be really careful about theft and pickpockets. There are bag snatching thieves on motorcycles who are common in crowded areas of big cities like Hanoi, and there are absolutely rigged and corrupt taxi drivers. For example, you have a 500,000 Vietnamese dong bill and the driver will try to switch it off for a similar looking 20,000 Vietnamese dong banknote, and yeah, just try to be careful about scams and these kind of things. The next one is also true for Thailand, just as like Bali, but also for Vietnam. The road safety is generally poor. There are a lot of accidents, especially motorcycle accidents, so always be careful when riding on the roads. For our last stop, we are going to move to a different region again, and it is North Africa. And obviously Egypt is the heavy hitter here, but its neighboring countries also have a lot of things to offer to you. Okay, let's start with the obvious one. So yeah, basically, yeah, just pyramids. Yeah, just pyramids. Obviously, it is the most famous thing in Egypt, and it offers you more than 5,000 years of history. But other than that, you can experience world-class diving into the Red Sea, and you can travel down the legendary Nile River. It is also considered to be one of the world's best budget spots. If you're a backpacker, you can get around easily from 40 to 60 euros per day. Hostel dorms in Cairo or Luxor are really cheap, for about 3-5 euros per night, and I think hotels are also like a little bit upper range, which is about 10 to 20 euros. And if you talk about food, obviously street food's gonna be the one that you might go for if you're on a budget. For example, a koshari or falafel, it costs between 1 or 2 euros. So these prices are really the same as what we see in Thailand or Vietnam. But contrary to the case in Vietnam, budget here sometimes mean lower hygiene standards and a lot more dirt, so be careful where you eat and avoid getting sick. Actually, this is the same as in Vietnam and Thailand, so I take it back. Also be prepared for intense haggling and commission-based guides, so always just look out for scams here as well, just like in all the other places that I mentioned. This country is one of the most underrated ones in the list, but I promise you it is absolutely a hidden gem. It has a vibrant mix of Middle Eastern, African and European influences. From the Atlas Mountains to the Sahara Desert, everybody finds what they really love about Morocco. And you can get the high value experience for a very low cost. Budget travelers can survive on 25 to 40 euros per day. In Morocco, there are accommodations called riads. It is a traditional house with a courtyard, and the budget version of these start around 15 euros per day. There is transportation. Trains are reliable and cheap, and the 3-hour trip from Casablanca to Marrakesh is only about 8 or 9 euros, for example. And there is one more tip: master the art of bargaining. It is expected everywhere. Tunisia is even more underrated than Morocco. In 2026, Tunisia is actually ranking as the most affordable spot for all-inclusive getaways, which is perfect for couples and families. It is like Morocco, but less crowded and often cheaper. You can get Mediterranean beaches, the Star Wars film set in the desert, and incredible Roman ruins that you will often have all to yourself, because it is mostly empty. In case of accommodation, the prices really are same as Morocco, even a little bit cheaper sometimes. So if you are traveling around the region, don't just stay with Egypt. try also Tunisia and Morocco, because you will be surprised how great of a time you will have in these countries. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and if you stayed until the end, please like and subscribe. This is how you can support the channel the most, and let me know in the comment section what kind of topic you want to see in the next video, and take care.